So, what is Pekiti-Tirsia Seguidas? When Tuhon first taught us the first set, it was, I think, late in 1979 or early in 1980, and he gave us the whole first set in 4, 5, or 6 hours at the School of Manhattan. And this is just after we finished 64 attacks. So, you know, we just came off of in 64 attacks. The obsidiary are very wide cuts, right? First 4. And then halfway through the 64 attacks, you have 5 attacks, which have these diagonal cuts, which are a little faster than the obsidario, but don't hit as hard. Seguidas were making this very tight, odd kind of compound motion, odd for us at the time. And what was interesting about his teaching style is he gave us this, for us, complex set in one day, and then did not give us the application for 4, 5, 6 months. Might have been the summer camp of 80 when we finally got the application. And he told us specifically, analyze it, problem solve. I'm not going to tell you right away. And we gained a lot from that. I remember when he finally did give us the applications, said, okay, let's see. Explain number 1. Oh, you got that right. Let me see number 2. Oh, adjust this. Number 3. Oh, wrong. Fix this. And it really gave us a good appreciation for the technique and a good analog. It gave us better memory, but it also gave us a good reason of why you do it this way and not that way. And that little spark of, okay, do this, correct that, was really like the lights going on. And, oh yeah, that's why you do this. And he wanted us to both appreciate the technique and try to develop problem-solving skills on our own. So again, number 1 in the first set, you have this very tight motion because number 1, first set of Seguidas, you're fighting, the idea is you're fighting a man with a similar skill set to you. He's size and strength-wise similar skill level mentally, similar weapon to you. So how do you beat him? You have to use more efficient technique. Where, like the obsidario, you can see there's a lot of downtime between when my stick is on target and then comes back on target. The diagonals and 5 attacks, again, it's a little better than the obsidario, but there's still a lot of downtime. In Seguidas, that stick spends a lot of time between me and my opponent on those cuts and thrusts. So then from first set, I think the following year moved on to second set. Second set, a lot of that is the concepts of how to beat the first set. There's some minor pieces in there that are literal translations of countering this number with this number, but most of it is concepts. For instance, in number 12 on the first set, you're spending a lot of times changing heights and then fighting a guy on his knees or on your knees, attacking his legs, trying to uppercut his arms. So how do you beat that concept-wise? A lot of that is, you notice in the second set, there's a lot of material changing distance, going back and forth with the distance. So you're having distance control is beating height control. The third set is Seguidas. I learned it and I taught it for many, many years as simply, all right, you do this lock or this choke at this number and that number and this number, and then after a while you mash it all up and you can, you know, just flow with the chokes and wherever you get a choke, off that rolling platform of Seguidas bow. But it was still weapon versus weapon. Lately, for the last few years, I'm really looking at it as a weapon retention technique. In that, okay, I've just smacked the guy in his hand, his weapon is flown, and instead of running away, he's charging me, trying to capture my weapon or smother my attack. So then, okay, that makes sense why the chokes are in there and why some of the disarms are just throwaway techniques, just an excuse to get the weapon out of his hand. So, teaching it now, I teach it with the opponent having no weapon and him trying to get in, and you're striking in the air, and then he gets his timing and he charges in on you. And then from there, okay, now you do the chokes and the hits and whatnot, based on that timing. And based on the idea the opponent does not have a weapon. I want you to think of Seguidas and all the advanced Pekiti-Tirsia material as samples of how to solve specific problems with specific tools, not as 12 techniques written in stone. So for instance, Seguidas would be fighting a similar opponent to you and your weapon. Contratus, he's bigger and stronger, or his weapon is bigger and heavier than yours. How do you beat him using speed and angles? Recontrast would be the opposite of that. The opponent is maybe faster than me or has a lighter weapon. So how do I use my superior size or my superior weapon power to overcome or smother him? So it's like you have multiple tools in your toolbox. How do you use these tools? You know, say like a hammer and a screwdriver solve similar problems. How to join two pieces of wood together. But if you need to do it in a hurry and you don't care about being able to easily take those pieces apart, then a hammer and nails is good. If I'm doing, say, fine carpentry and I'm putting a cabinet together, but I want to be able to take those two pieces of wood apart easily, then a screwdriver and a screws are better. So think of these as samples to solve problems rather than specific written in stone techniques, and that'll make things a lot easier for you. So here's a good example of using a principle rather than a technique written in stone. So for instance, you're doing a diamond pattern footwork on number 1 of the first set. I come in here. The basic way I teach it is usually forward triangle and reverse triangle. So I come in on my first motion, coming down, forward triangle, reverse triangle for the uppercut, part 1, and then part 2 is a thrust. However, what is that footwork doing for you? I come in on the 1, I want to get away from his forehand, so I step over and I'm cutting here. I'm up inside his back, right? And I've gotten some distance from the opponent's weapon arms, assuming he's a right-handed person. However, you can also do that coming into scissor open and then winding your footwork down and then doing the switch step here on the back side of the reverse triangle and then stepping in for your thrust from there. You solve the same problem with 2 different footwork styles, let's say, footwork techniques. But the goal is to solve the problem. The goal is not to do a choreographed dance step. So, as you go through these techniques, keep in mind that Seguidas and all the advanced Pekiti-Tirsia material are samples of how to solve problems, specific problems, with specific tools. And those tools are your body, your mind, and the weapon you have. And the problem would be, in the case of Seguidas, a guy similar to you. In the case of Contratus, a guy bigger and stronger, or a stronger weapon than yours. And in Recontrast, a guy faster than you, or with a faster weapon. So keep your eye on how to solve the problem, not specifically what techniques you use to solve that problem. And I think you'll be better off. All right, Tuhon Bill McGrath signing out. Train hard, but train smart.